following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order. Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast, where we talk about all things AEW related, and tonight we are reviewing Dynamite. I've got a PhD in THC, I'm the Doctor of Pot Cosmic Scott, and I'm joined by my partner and co-host, who has no catchphrase, JayV. How are you tonight, JayV?
I'm doing great. Good evening, Scott. It's going to be a fun podcast. There's a lot of other stuff going on as well. We can talk a little bit about the pay-per-views. We can talk a little bit about Starrcast, too. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
All right. Well, if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, give us a comment down below about your thoughts about Dynamite, about the pay-per-view, about Starrcast, anything you might want to talk about. We want to hear from you. And it really helps with YouTube algorithms, so go ahead and do that for us, please. We're on the drive to hit 1,000, so please help. And hey, let's start by talking a little bit about All Out, because I know there was quite a bit that happened before, after, during, all the crud, all the crap, all the fallout, and what turned out to be a pretty good show. What did you think being live at All Out?
So, yeah, I was able to attend All Out. It was, going into it with the hometown hero getting fired for being a dipshit. We weren't sure I thought the crowd was going to hijack the show. I thought, they were going to just boo the faces and cheer the heels and just try to be disruptive. And that is definitely not what happened. If anything, Tony Khan hijacked the crowd himself. And all those upset people ended up marking out like a bunch of, first-time kids going to see WWE. And, the crowd was pretty hot. They were super into it. Every single match delivered. It was an excellent show. Yeah. It was the second highest rated AEW pay-per-view ever. Only next to All Out 2021. So, yeah, it was, I have to say, it was and it also... despite missing, the dipshit that got fired,
Voldemort. We're calling him Voldemort, or he who shall not be named.
So, despite that, they sold more tickets this year than last year. So, I guess this company is going to be okay, and we'll move on without their hometown hero. So, good stuff.
Fortunately, not only did the crowd accept the show for what it was, I think Tony coming out and letting them boo him was a good thing. It let them focus their attention and sort of their hatred, and then they got to go on with the rest of the show. And I think that worked on a psychological level, whether or not he meant it. I think it worked really well. There is no question that the crowd was hot. I have never in my life heard a chant, not just for Meat, but Meat Forever. There were a couple other men slapping Meat references that the crowd chanted during the Miro Powerhouse Hobbs match. That was fantastic. What was it like in the crowd where everybody was chanting about Meat?
It was like at first when they were. So I guess let's kind of roll back the clock. I think it was 1995 ECW Arena. There's a wrestler, Hack Myers, the Shah of professional wrestling. And, ECW fans were kind of silly. And when the Shah would hit someone, because his name was the Shah, they would yell, Shah! And,
makes sense.
So, Shah, 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 like he was pounding on someone. Mm-hmm. And then, he'd do the Irish whip, and the crowd would do the whole, like, oh, yeah. Shah! That originated at ECW Arena, and we see it at every show. We basically see that, and so they hijacked the Shah, they hijacked the Hack Myers chant, and they used Meat instead, and it worked, and it was fun, and it just kept getting louder and louder. And like when I think the first time Miro knocked Hobbs down, and started, kind of like hulking up, waving his arms around a little bit. Like that crescendo before he followed up with like another shot was like one of the most loudest points I think I've ever experienced at an arena. It was a riot. It was so much fun. The Chicago crowd was pretty innovative with that chant. And hey, everyone was having fun. Everyone was having a good time. I thought it was great. It was, it's certainly, I feel like that's probably the, kind of the talking point of the show is, yeah, there's a bunch of other great matches, but that was unique. That was different. And it was crazy. So yeah, good stuff.
I got to say, watching it from home, at first I wasn't exactly sure what was being chanted. And then I heard, instead of, fight forever, I heard meet forever. Like, oh, everybody's in on the joke, or at least enough people are in on the big meaty men slapping man meat. That, of course, is famous from Big E himself, a big man who liked to slap man meat. And Simon Miller helped get it over, to say the least. But the community, thus hardcore marks, the elite marks especially, we love that big, meaty, man meat fun match. Not all of them have to be that way, like WWE. But certainly, that was the epitome of what a big man match can be, without having to be dangerous or, yes, they did spots that big men shouldn't necessarily do. There was at least one dive, I think. But the fact is, it was a good, solid match between two big guys, and I want to see more of that. First of all, I love Miro. I have for a long time, and I really like Powerhouse Hobbs. I think he's improved a ton, and I think just a little bit more character tweaking, and he's certainly ready for the top of the card. Give him a little bit more mic work. He's good. I got to say, overall, the pay-per-view itself was fantastic. It's highly rated for a reason, because it was fun. The matches didn't have to be the most technical, but the fact is, you had fun watching that pay-per-view. And I think that has come across. Maybe they might have figured that out, because I thought the show last night was pretty fun. I thought it was a pretty good show. Even compared to All Out, as fun as that pay-per-view was, I thought it was solid. What did you think of Dynamite as an overall?
I don't know. I wasn't overly thrilled with the show last night. It's I don't know. None of the matches I thought were excellent. It kept me interested in the show. I did like the main event between Darby and Nick Wayne, but yeah, I thought. I don't know. The first show after the pay-per-view is always a little bit slow, and I think that's what we saw. It did rate well, though. The cage match readers gave it a 7.9, which is a pretty decent score. But then, the highest rated match on there is like a 6.8 for Latex Gosler's Aussie Open. But yeah, it was okay. I didn't think it was a great show. I didn't think it built up anything compelling. I do like the tournament that they're setting up for Grand Slam. However, I don't like the competitors. I think they could have a much better slate of wrestlers in that tournament for the title shot. And it's almost like, we all know Joe's going to win, so why even bother?
Well, I know that there was a lot of debate on the Nick Wayne Darby Allin match, and certainly we'll get to it. But the fact is, that was highly contested. Nobody really knew going in which way it was going to go. Now, it made sense the way it went, but the fact of the matter is, it could have gone either way, and I think that was a good sense going into what turns out to be Nick's first main event match. And let's actually talk a little bit about that, because not only was the spot of the week for me in that match, but that really, as the main segment, is the main talking point. So let's get into it. First of all, spot of the week is absolutely going to be that tope that, once again, Darby Allin threw himself bodily at his opponent from inside the ring to the outside of the ring without care for his body. The problem this week was that Nick wasn't there, and Darby crashed and burned hard. They replayed it, and it still looked bad. Jay, I know you got some thoughts on that spot.
Yeah, it was definitely my spot of the week. Darby, when Nick moved out of the way, Darby hit the ground pretty damn hard, and it's typical Darby. And I think that was what I thought was the most impressive spot in the show. There were a bunch of good spots in the Darby Nick match, but I think Darby missing that dive was crazy.
That was the one that really a lot of people reacted to. I know my wife responded to it. I know online a lot of people were like, "Holy crap, that looked nasty," and it did look bad. And that comes on top of reports that Darby's been hurt because he jumped onto a coffin unprotected with his spine first. And he's like, "Oh, I hurt my back." Really? However could you have done that? Was it
Right.
the top rope spot onto completely unprotected hardwood? That's not even flat? No. He's a dumbass. I swear to God, he's going to get himself killed. But until then, he's entertaining.
I wonder when when his Mount Everest trip is coming up. He said he was going to climb Mount Everest this year, so I wonder when that's going to happen.
I don't know, but Everest is full of dead people who are very, very highly motivated.
That's for sure.
So,
they're highly motivated and highly frozen.
They are now. But let's go ahead and actually talk about this, because the fact is, this actually did have a lot of threads coming into it. We're going to talk about Darby Allin and Nick Wayne, which was the main event. I thought there was quite a few threads because it tied in directly to what was before it, which was when Hangman and Brian Cage and all those guys were confronting each other, because that ties right back into the tournament. There's a lot going on with AEW. Anybody who says that there aren't storylines is just saying it in bad faith because they're not paying attention.
I mean, the two interruptions in the match, I think, really, really hurt the match. Darby grabbing the mic and saying, "Hit me like you mean it." That was fucking awful. And Christian's music hitting in the middle of the match so he can go sit at commentary. That was really bad too. I know
at one point you thought it was the end. You were God damn it, WWE fucking finish. I know you were pissed.
So I mean, you have two guys that can have a great technical match here and an excellent banger of a match that people are going to walk away from going, holy shit. And you got to mix the sports entertainment in it. You got to mix the storylines in it. And it's just, I don't know. It's concerning from a longer term standpoint. It's like, is this what we're going to start getting now? Is this type of stuff? I mean, it's not the spirit in which the company was founded. But there was a lot of good action in the match, and I just hope they don't go heel with Nick Wayne. It's Nick is a natural baby face. He's coming up, so to turn him heel like right away just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe he'll get over huge as a heel. We'll see what happens, but is Christian just going to treat him like he treats Luchasaurus? He's just going to stand there in the background and do nothing, so that when Christian, who just signed an extension, by the way,
yes, he did.
So when if Christian moves on to other things, like Luchasaurus is probably just going to disappear. Is the same thing going to happen to Nick if he joins Christian? I don't know. I just. I don't know. It's a little bit concerning with what they're going to do. I love that Nick got the opportunity, though, at this point to be the main event on Dynamite. But the fucking booking kind of ruined what could have been a much better match.
So I'm hearing you didn't like it. You were unhappy with the booking of basically Nick Wayne's main event debut match on AEW.
Yeah, it's like I watched. You can go back and watch a match from Nick Wayne versus Will Ospreay from two years ago, and. It's a competitive banger of a match. And then, Darby has to show sympathy, 4 minutes in or whatever, and not give Nick Wayne a coffin drop and end it quickly. And then he has to take the mic and tell Nick to hit him harder. It's like, why can Nick do a great job against Will Ospreay and have a good match against Will without any bullshit, and then against Darby, they gotta add all this other shit and make it look like Nick has absolutely no chance. So, yeah.
I disagree. I don't think it looked like he had no chance. But you have to admit, right now, Darby's position is significantly higher on the card since Nick just started. And he looked okay. I didn't think he looked that bad. He got some good moves in. I think as a rookie, he's certainly looking a lot better than some people like, I'll just throw out Trench or
well,
or Parker Boudreaux, or even, quite honestly, as much as I was a fan, Sonny Kiss. Sonny Kiss had no connection to the audience. Nick is connecting. And I'll give him credit for that, if nothing else.
yeah, I guess, it just kind of makes me think of Action Andretti and how he was brought in. He got the win over Jericho. He looked like he was Jericho's peer. And Nick has way more experience than Action Andretti does, even though Andretti is like 5 years older or 7 years older, or whatever. So it's just, I just remember seeing that match and saying, why the fuck couldn't they have brought Nick Wayne in like this? And why couldn't they have saved it for him instead of giving it to this Action Andretti guy who's like a Will Ospreay wannabe?
Here's what I've kind of noticed is occasionally a pattern. I think with Andretti, especially, it was a matter of quick rise, quick drop. And it's more with Nick, they're building it longer, so he has longer to be at that higher level. And I think, to Nick's credit, he's handling it well. And I think maybe there was something that maybe Andretti just didn't impress. It's hard to know. This is all done on personal feelings because Tony Khan's a human. And as much as he looks at the numbers and whatever, if he really likes a person, he's going to push him. And he liked Nick Wayne well enough to sign him at 16. So he's been waiting 2 years, chomping at the bit to showcase this kid. So I understand he's getting a significant push. Billy Starks, if she was cleared, would have been at Wembley in that show. She probably would have been at this show, even though the women's match was like second. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
The fact.
I was going to say, I did get to meet Nick Wayne again at Starrcast. He was signing there for on behalf of AEW. He was there. So I did get to talk to him a little bit, get the autographed 8x10 and the picture. Again, he's super professional. He's very engaging. He's wise beyond his years.
Didn't he photobomb one of your pictures?
Yeah, I did a pic with Colt Cabana, and Nick Wayne photobombed us in the background. It was pretty damn funny.
It's a pretty good picture, by the way. It's pretty awesome.
And so I talked to Nick about the GCW show that was going on later that night. At Starrcast, they usually have a bunch of indie shows going on. There was a GCW show headlined by Nick Gage versus Vikingo, which was pretty fucking crazy. And then I saw Nick at the GCW event. He was just sitting in the back with Blake Christian, just kind of chilling, watching the Nick Gage and Vikingo kill each other. It was good to see him again, and certainly has a bright future. And I just hope that Tony uses him well and lets him do the things that has made him, such a prospect. Let him have those good technical matches and see where that takes him.
I think he's going to get a chance. I think it'll be an opportunity will be presented soon where he'll get to shine and, sink or swim. So far, he's been able to swim. And again, he did grow up with it. He's second generation. That's the type of person, realistically, that as a scout, you could take a chance on. Because he is raised with somebody who is training people, so he's had those skills from birth. As a good example, Matt Hardy's kids are going to be fucking fantastic when they get older. Because they've been practicing since basically birth.
Yeah, and they have a good teacher.
Yeah, Jeff Hardy.
Right.
Jeff is absolutely the star of the brothers. He's getting a solo match on Rampage against somebody. I don't remember who it was. I think Claudio or someone. Okay. Jeff is clearly the single star, has always been the single star, will always be the bigger star. And I don't think Matt cares. I think Matt has earned a place backstage, and I think he's working backstage. But yeah, I think Jeff Hardy is the better of the Hardys. That said, Let's move on. This show opened, as it often does, as I enjoy it, with the strands of Jane from Jefferson Starship. And Orange Cassidy came out for the opening promo. Now, if you could believe it, his opening promo was more than like 4 or 5 sentences. I'm going to read it to you because that's how long it was. Okay. When he came out, by the way, they were chanting "Freshly Squeezed" and "Thank you, Orange," because they appreciate the fuck out of Orange Cassidy, as we all should. Dude worked his ass off to get that belt over. Here was his promo. "Hey, thank you. They told me to stay home, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Championship or no championship, I will be here every single week because I am Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy, and I do not have a catchphrase." I'm sorry, but that's working for me. I love that opening. Simple, to the point, got a big cheer, and he was done. That's how you should do an opening promo. As he was leaving, however, Moxley started his entrance, sort of stepping on the toes. That doesn't happen a whole lot. He must have beat up the sound guy to get him to start. Then he teleported, because of course he entered through the arena. And he gets there and he's standing and he's just waiting. And it's still opening with the International Championship match, by the way. Just now it's Moxley. And Orange takes so long, AR Fox comes out for his match. And there was some sort of stare down with Darby and Orange and AR Fox and something. I'm not sure exactly what was going on with that, because Darby did not stick around for the AR Fox match, I don't think. And then neither did Orange. So what was the point of that interaction? Anyway.
It was just showing that they're still aligned with AR Fox, even though AR Fox turned on him, 3 weeks ago. But since he couldn't go to the UK, he, turned face again because Swerve didn't like him because he lost. So it was just showing support for Fox.
Yeah, I guess that's why Darby was out with him, but the whole interaction with OC and I guess he walked really slowly because I've never seen that if it's not on purpose. So it was clearly on purpose for storytelling.
Yeah, it was on purpose. And I think the other thing is that Nick Wayne, they wanted to show that Nick Wayne was not interested in AR Fox too. And I don't remember if that was the same time, but Nick Wayne is still mad at AR Fox.
They showed during the match. Yeah, during the match, they showed Darby and Nick talking. Yeah. So Darby's out there supporting both AR Fox and Nick. And that's obviously going to be a bit of contention. Somebody's going to turn. That's the story, and I'm here for it. So the match was Jon Moxley. By the way, there was a really fun comment, but that's coming up. The match itself was nothing because I wrote down winner, and I didn't. There's no notes. AR Fox really got nothing in. Couple of bits here and there, tried to look good, but it was a squash match. Jon Moxley destroyed him. Not much to this match. AR Fox didn't get a chance to shine, really. What were your thoughts on the Moxley match? It's not what I was expecting from an international championship match.
I think, Mox is overexposed. He destroys most of his opponents. He's lost 3 singles matches, I think, in 4 years in AEW. One of them clean. And he just goes over people. He never loses in tag match. He never puts anyone over. He's
lost a bunch of matches right up until the international, though. He lost the blood and guts. He lost.
Well, he lost in tag team matches, but he didn't take the fall. He never took the loss.
Yeah.
But BCC has lost a lot, but not with Moxley. So.
Right, you're right. Moxley's not getting pinned.
Moxley just doesn't lose, and it's like, I complain that Omega's lost like all his last 6 pay-per-views or whatever the hell, and everyone's like, oh well, he's got to put people over, but yet no one complains that Moxley has like a 99% win rate in singles matches in AEW. So I don't know. I think it's unfortunate that Mox has the title. I wish they would put it on someone else who's a little newer and fresher and who needs the title to be a star, can help them become a bigger star. Because Mox just crushing people every week, especially guys that are lower mid card like AR Fox and Action Andretti, who's come up a second time on the podcast, which might be a record. He's fighting Andretti on Collision, and it's just like I just really don't have any interest. Like Orange Cassidy versus Fox, interesting match. Orange Cassidy versus Andretti, it's going to be an interesting match.
Because they weren't going to be squash matches. Now, admittedly, Moxley is significantly higher up on the card, which means he should be facing people higher up on the card.
Right.
The title should be following him. He shouldn't lower himself to a title. If he's opening and he's trying to showcase these people, then they should be able to showcase.
Right.
So right now, and I'm a fan of Mox, of course I am. I'm just wondering, is it going to be a quick turnover? Someone's going to get a quick win over him, and it's just going to be a shock like Action Andretti on Collision. Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, but who knows?
If they did, and Andretti went on to have a streak similar to Orange Cassidy, wouldn't that then make a brand new star?
It could. It certainly could.
Could Andretti do 30 wins in a row as champion and tell the type of long-term story that Cassidy did? You know a little bit more about Andretti than I do. Do you think he could tell that sort of story?
No, I think the crowd would start booing him if they pushed him on a big win streak like that. Because I don't think the crowd has embraced him. So if Tony starts shoving him down our throat by having him go over everybody, I think people might start booing him. So he's not beloved like Orange. He doesn't have a great gimmick like Orange. I mean, he's just a high flyer right now. So
who on a lower card like Orange could you put that title on and have them be the workhorse? Who could carry it since Moxley's not right for that title?
Penta, Phoenix, Pac. Well, Pac's always hurt.
So you're saying the entire Death Triangle?
Yeah, like any one of them would do great carrying that title. How about Nick Jackson? How about
Nick on a solo run would be badass.
Yeah, it would be fun. I'm just trying to think of who else could even use it. Like one of the bigger guys. You got
Miro.
It seems like Miro, Wardlow, Hobbs. Their TNT title runs.
First of all, keep Wardlow the fuck away from it. Miro, fine. I have no problem with that. Hobbs, fine. Hobbs was a pretty short TNT champion, but at least I thought he had a lot more to go. So, okay, give him an international. Sure, yes. Wardlow, fuck no. If he fucked up the TNT, put him back on TNT. Let's see if he can fix that title before he fucks up the international title.
So just looking through we got Hangman, we got Andrade, we got Bandito. And again, a lot of these guys have injury problems. So
like Hangman, if you think about it, Hangman as an international champion wouldn't be terrible. I agree, though. I think Rey Fenix or Penta, I seriously thought Penta would have been an excellent choice as international champion. I really, when he was dressed in the suit with I think it's not Abrahantes, is it? No, his hype guy, whoever, I forget his name.
Yeah, it's Abrahantes.
It is Abrahantes. Okay.
Yeah.
But when he was there just in his, just a good quality suit, I was like, damn, he looks slick. He would look good carrying a title as a champion. And you know who could really give him a good backup would be LFI. Put Penta in charge of someone. Look, I like Phoenix. Give him a chance to go solo. Give these guys a chance to break away and do some stuff to show how good. Penta's got such a good connection to the audience. He really is beloved. We were talking about that. He could really carry that title and be a workhorse. I absolutely believe Penta would be a fantastic choice, and it would be believable that he could take it from Moxley.
Right.
All right, next campaign, we need to start an email campaign.
Yeah. I was just going to suggest Brody King might be a good champ too.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a monster. You give that to him, the House of Black just crushes everybody.
That would be fucking great. If not Brody King, then Chuck Taylor's my second choice. So Awful Waffles all day.
Oh man, I would just think an Awful Waffle Party would be fantastic. Just, everywhere. Quite honestly, there are a few people I think could believably beat Moxley for it. I think Trent Beretta might not be a bad choice. So let's see the best friends get the opportunity to run with it. I think they've been out there long enough. They've got a connection. People know them. They're not quite Penta level beloved, but got to give people what they want. They do get a pop. But after Moxley won the match, Christian had his little say on, I guess it was a video pre-record something, because Christian gets to do whatever he wants. The thing that I wanted to take away from it, because he was talking smack about Nick Wayne, and he was talking about Darby Allin, and he said, "Hey, say hi to your mom, Nick." I love the fact that Christian not only will talk about your dead dads, he will hit on your mom. That's fucked up. But funny. But funny.
Yeah.
What is, any thoughts on Christian interjecting himself and basically trying to work with Nick? I don't know if Christian and Nick should work together. I know some people were talking about Jungle Boy working with them since they're all heel now. That's probably a better option. And I think Nick should continue to stay. Maybe if he does turn heel, maybe he joins with Swerve. I've heard of worse things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were starting to tease Christian going with or Jungle Boy or Jack Perry going with Christian when Perry grabbed Christian's daughter in the crowd. About, I don't know, I want to say like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And then Christian's daughter was on the interview with him like the following week.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah, so I thought they were kind of maybe sowing the seeds for Perry and Christian to get back together with Luchasaurus. I mean, I'd be all for that. I think heel Perry and heel Luchasaurus would be fun. Got to bring back Marco Stunt too. That would make it perfect. Marco would be a great heel.
And they could actually go after some titles. They could go after the tag titles. They could go after the trios titles. There's, Marco Stunt, whatever.
Yeah, Marco is a trios champ. I love it.
Well, he actually probably would do better in a trios match than anywhere else in AEW. But alas, Tony saw no room for little Marco.
Poor Marco.
Yeah, poor Marco. Anyways, so the next match was the women's section, because again, they only get one, and this was awfully early. It was the TBS Championship, Chris Statlander versus Emi Sakura. Now, I thought, oh, hey, look, Chris Statlander early. They're going to have another match. They did not. They did have a segment, and I absolutely want to talk about it here next. But at least they got a match. And Emi Sakura lost clean, and I don't know. I don't think she's having a whole lot of fun anymore in AEW. Chris, still looking strong as champion, but not getting much by way of a story. Certainly not getting any character. What's going on with the women?
So how long do you think the Statlander Sakura match was?
3 minutes, maybe?
3 minutes. Oh, it was 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Jesus,
I thought it went longer because wasn't it even interrupted with the commercial break? Or I could be wrong about that.
I don't think they had time for a commercial break.
Yeah, Emi did get her shit in at the beginning of the match and tossed Statlander around a little bit. I thought it was pretty impressive. But then the match abruptly ended because apparently women's wrestling was only worthy of 4.5 minutes on the 2-hour show. So, I don't really have anything else to say about that. Emi deserves better. Good to see Statlander on Dynamite, but again, she
Yeah.
deserves more than a 4-minute match against someone as talented as Emi Sakura. These two could have had a 4-star 20-minute match that would have had people rocking. Because
I was
the crowd
interested in this match. I wanted to see this match. I was excited because I like Statlander and Sakura. And they got nothing. It was so disappointing. It was just so disappointing. And I did want to talk about the women because let's face it, we'll just go ahead and just do one segment. That's all they deserve, right?
That's right.
There was another segment because Toni Storm had to have another interview segment with Renee Paquette, and she is doing this 30s film cinema star gimmick thing that is fucking working. She's lost her mind. She's getting weird, and she now has a catchphrase that I swear to God, it's gonna happen. It's gonna end up on t-shirts. Chin up, tits out, and watch for the shoe. And my God, the audible laughter from the crowd when she said that. What do you think of the new catchphrase for Toni?
I think it's pretty cool. I think Crazy Tony might get over. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't have too much to say on that. It's just kind of a watch and wait kind of thing.
I think there's an opportunity. I don't necessarily want a lot of guys walking around with the chin up, tits out, watch for the shoe, but I'd love to see a lot of girls representing. Just because it's Toni Storm who said it. She's a girl. She wants to talk about tits. She's allowed to. I don't think creepy guys who are into wrestling should be talking about women. However, if it's a women's empowerment thing, if that's okay, great. Whatever. I swear, apparently everybody's going to be talking about this for a while. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think Tony's going to give up on it quite yet. It got a response. We're going to hear it again. That said, let's move on to the very next segment, which was Don Callis, who took a seat at the commentary station because the Sex Gods and Aussie Open were going to have a match. And it's more Jericho and more Guevara, and it was an interesting match. It was fun. But the story now is Jericho face? Is he a heel? Is he in between? I'm not really sure what's going on with both of them because after the match they had some heat. They even won, which, why did they beat Aussie Open? I know you've got some comments on it. I'm not sure what's going on with this match. This was a really confusing story. What were your thoughts on the Sex Gods versus Aussie Open?
I hated to see Aussie Open lose. It seems like it's this infighting between Jericho and Sammy, and there's no stakes with this match. That them going over Aussie Open just makes Aussie Open not look good. So it's like, I was like, is this Aussie Open's farewell as they go back and compete mostly on ROH, not to be seen on TV anymore? So I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I think that might be the case, and we won't see Aussie Open again until, outside of ROH, until Ospreay comes over at the end of the year. So hopefully Ospreay comes over at the end of the year. So, that would be a hell of an introduction to have Ospreay come in and those three go after the trios titles to kind of break Ospreay into a full-time AEW schedule. So I don't know if that's what's happening there. As for what's going on with Les Sex Gods, I don't know. Jericho's got to have his 10, 15 minutes every week. So I guess this is what he wants to do, is some shit with Sammy right now and, what's left of the Inner Circle. You wonder if maybe something will happen with Santana and Ortiz, since you have 4 of the, original Inner Circle members.
Right.
But I don't know. It's like with Toni Storm, it seems like it's kind of a wait and see what happens with what's going on here.
I'll tell you, there was an idea that somebody presented that I thought was a really good one. And it was the fact that Jericho needs to go on tour with Fozzy. Because it's been a long time since he's stuck around this long every single week on television. He was about to go on tour when the pandemic broke out. I think maybe it's time for him to go on tour for a little bit, because then he can come back and make a big to-do. I think there's a few people that maybe they could put on vacation for a little bit, not because of a problem, but because a little bit time away could give other people the chance to step up. And when they return, they could be huge. I think somebody like Jon Moxley is one of those guys. You called him overexposed. I think he's on TV far too much right now. And he always gets talking segments. He always gets wrestling segments. He doesn't lose. His faction is extraordinarily powerful, but they don't win a lot. I don't know. BCC isn't quite cutting it for me. I like them. I like the idea of the concept. This execution is sucking. There's a few other people that could just take some time off, leave some room at the top, and then when they come back, there's better matches with more interesting people. So, anyways, the crowd responded well to this match. They enjoyed it. There was a lot of good back and forth. And again, Sammy Guevara and Jericho had their fallout at the end, and that's clearly the direction they're going to go, is their fallout, their entire feud is going to be with those two. Will it elevate Sammy? Well, Jericho hasn't really elevated anybody yet, so hopefully. The next segment we moved on was the Callis with Takeshita talking with Renee, talking about unveiling their new target next week. Any idea who they may be targeting next week?
No, I am not sure, and I thought it was quite curious. I don't know who's kind of sitting there without a storyline right now. So yeah, I don't know who Jericho. I'm sorry, who Callis and Takeshita are going to go after, unless I just spoiled it and said Jericho. Maybe it is, but I don't know. It sounds like this means that Kenny Omega is not going to be on TV for a while. I mean, are they going to bother to bring him back for the Wrestle Dream, the AEW / Antonio Inoki tribute show coming up in a month, pay-per-view?
You figure if it's Japanese, he's absolutely got to be involved.
Yeah, you would think, but who knows?
I would.
I would expect it, but I would expect one of the top guys to be used a lot more than he is right now. I would expect one of the top guys that just re-signed a 4-year deal to not be used as a jobber, to put people over constantly and never. I don't know.
So, okay. As far as the win-loss stuff, I've got nothing for that. I do have to say, not seeing him every week makes him a little bit more of a special attraction. You got to admit, sort of like Undertaker, sort of like Brock Lesnar, sort of like some of these top stars that we've known for years and years and years, not having them every week when they show up becomes special. And it's hard to say that I don't want to see Kenny Omega wrestle every week. I would love to. One of the reasons I started watching is because I didn't get to see him. And I heard nothing but all these stories about him. So I've always wanted to watch him wrestle, and he's good. I enjoy the shit out of it. But there's something to be said about being a special attraction. We were talking about it earlier, where you're not there every week. And I think maybe Kenny has elevated to that level. And maybe we can make it special by clapping our hands when, so Tinkerbell can live, and really just putting our heart and soul in when he returns. That pop should be enough to convince people that he's still got it, I guess. I don't know who the hell their next target is going to be. It could be damn near anybody at this point. Takeshita and Callis, they didn't move forward with the nuclear heat, and now they're sort of cooled off. I don't know what they're doing with these guys. Every now and again, AEW makes some weird choices. But you know what's not a weird choice? MJF versus Joe. That's not a weird choice. That turned out to be a pretty goddamn good choice. MJF was our next segment, and he came out and he played the crowd like a goddamned fiddle, because that's how good MJF is. And he's not just a scumbag, he's our scumbag. Joe came out and they had a pretty good promo battle. What are your opinions? I mean, they went back and forth. They talked about their history together. MJF is a master of weaving in reality, his real 19-year-old exposure on TV that we've all seen the clip of, that they reenacted just at All Out. They're not retelling, but he's weaving that story in like he did with Cole, like he did with MJF, or not MJF, with Voldemort, like he did with William Regal. All of these big time matches, he's brought in his real life. And then he has a match and you believe it that much more. His promos are next level, and Joe is no fucking slouch. There was a bit of a time where they were going back and forth and MJF was making a bunch of different jokes, Pillsbury Joe boy, that kind of stuff. And I thought that the one that was really interesting was he made an ice cream truck reference, basically talking about Joe chasing after the ice cream truck. And Joe brilliantly said, last time I heard an ice cream truck, I was getting, the number one show over on the other channel, which we all know, if we're fans, that he is the body actor for Sweet Tooth over on Twisted Metal on Peacock, surprisingly, where WWE lives. So what'd you think of the promo battle between Joe and MJF? I thought it was pretty fantastic.
I like the throwback to the push when years ago when Joe was coming out and MJF was working security, when he pushed MJF against the wall. That was always a popular gif. And then to see them act that out and All Out, I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, you have a natural feud here. Joe kind of is almost rewarded for saving Tony Khan's life and saving All In by convincing CM Punk to fight the match after his altercations, plural. So yeah, I think Joe's getting a little bit of a push here. I don't think he's going to go over MJF, but he does get the main event Grand Slam. And it's clear that Joe's going to win the tournament, and there's nobody else really believable in the tournament that could win. So, here we are.
But here's the thing: there are some fun stories that can develop. As such, the next match, which was Trent with Chuck Taylor ringside versus Roddy Strong, who had the Kingdom. Now, the fact is, the match itself, not relevant, but the story being told is. Now, the match itself is good. I don't want to discredit that. But the fact is, Roddy Strong has neck issues. He's got the neck brace. Going up against Darby Allin, who's now got back issues. Roddy Strong is what? King of the backbreaker. So there's extra levels going into some of these matches that maybe not everybody is paying attention to. So I happen to think that as far as the match itself, they both had neck issues, so they both did a lot of pile drivers and neck-oriented things. And ultimately, Roddy did get a big backbreaker, because that's his finisher, and got the win. The story with Roderick Strong, where immediately after winning the match, he puts the neck brace back on. The entire match, he was great. He took pile drivers and other things to his neck. He did fantastic job, and then turned around and put the neck brace back on. His character work is starting to get better and better. His segment that he had later in the show was fantastic at getting his character over. I'm starting to like Roderick Strong. What would you think of the Trent Strong match?
I thought it was a fine match. There was really no question that Strong was going to go over. Just one thing I'll note is that at Starrcast, the Kingdom had a pretty long line in the at the signing area, longer than most of the other wrestlers, longer than Ricky Starks, longer than I want to say, well, Brian Cage, um, and a few other people, and it was just kind of surprising that that there were so many people that wanted to see the Kingdom. So they are pretty popular, and I do see them getting more time on TV as the fans become familiar with them and maybe becoming a threat to the tag titles in AEW. So yeah, I just thought I would note that. And again, the stories move along with Roddy Strong and Adam Cole, and we'll see what they end up doing with this.
I mean, so far the storyline with Roderick Strong, with Adam Cole, with the Kingdom, with MJF is starting to come together. There's going to be, and we know it's coming, we see it coming, but getting there is half the fun. There's going to be something that happens that ultimately will either cost MJF the title or win Adam Cole the title. One of the two. Won't necessarily be the same. Like, Adam Cole doesn't necessarily have to take the title off MJF. It could be Roderick Strong. I doubt it. But most likely going to be Adam Cole with the Kingdom behind him. Just because that seems to be the general consensus. I can't see MJF giving up his face run at this point and just going back to leading another group. That's just not going to work. But Adam Cole, as a heel running a group, we know could be really special. So I like where Roderick Strong is going. I think the segment that they had where they told Roderick Strong's story, where he comes from, his history, and just the interplay with the Kingdom behind him, just giving their support for such a difficult time that Roderick had, and just the tone that he's delivering it. It's a heartbreaking story, but he's still an asshole, and you don't like him, even though he's overcome all these hardships. So I think his character's starting to really come across strongly. But I'm liking it. I wonder where it's going, and that's the most important thing. Any final words on Roddy Strong and his storyline?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with Roddy and Adam Cole and where that's all going to go. I feel like MJF is going to stay face and might end up splitting off from Cole at some point. I don't know if we're going to see a title change there or anything, but yeah, it's certainly an interesting storyline, and it's certainly over. I mean, the crowd loves MJF and Cole. It's, as I had mentioned in chat, seeing them team up at All Out, it was almost like watching Hulk Hogan with how MJF just has the crowd wrapped around his finger. They'll do anything he tells them. They'll cheer anything he does. He's like, kangaroo kick, and the crowd's marking out for it, chanting kangaroo kick. So yeah, I mean, crowd loves him, and it's been pretty interesting to watch.
He really is able to get them to do anything. There's no question. And he's deservedly the champion. The next segment we move on to was Tony Schiavone talking with Hangman Page about winning the Battle Royale, giving away $50,000 of Tony Khan's money to the teachers of Chicago. They talked about teachers. Page said he used to be a teacher. Teachers are underfunded. So shout out to teachers. I've got friends who are teachers. It is a tough gig and is getting tougher. While Page is out there, out comes Swerve and Prince Nana, the Mogul Embassy. They make their way down, and Swerve starts talking to Adam Page, saying he must be the new mascot, he's got his new contract, he's getting soft in the middle, when's the last time he challenged for it? Basically just trying to get Page worked up because he wants to have a match against him. Typical stuff, not typical, but excellent stuff from Swerve trying to get under Page's skin, get him worked up so that their match becomes more believable. Fun. At one point, Swerve even said that he's coming for the spot that Page acts like he doesn't even want it. And I gotta say that's fantastic because Page has been given everything, as Swerve pointed out. And he's not sure he deserves it. He's not sure he wants it. Swerve's like, I would kill to have your opportunities. If I had as many opportunities to be champion as you, I would be the first black champion. I happen to agree. I think Swerve could easily be a champion and be a world champion. He's got the charisma. He's got the talent. He's absolutely getting his character over. Even as a heel, people respond to whose house? Swerve's house. So there's no question that he could absolutely be their top guy. So finally, Hangman leaves. Swerve keeps talking, gets him triggered by talking about his wife and kids. So Paige turns around, charges him, gets all up in his face, and that's when he gets blindsided by Brian Cage. I thought it was a good segment. Brian Cage beats him down. Then they, leave him for dead. But there's a lot of threads here because Hangman and Cage have fought previously. They just met at the Battle Royale. So now there's going to be a match between them guaranteed. And that's going to ultimately lead to a match with Hangman and Swerve. I think this is a feud I can get behind. What do you think?
I'm looking forward to seeing them fight. It should be a hell of a match as both of them are great wrestlers. I want to see... I'm really interested to see Swerve and how he handles Hangman if they get, a nice 25-minute singles match, the opportunity to have something like that. I'd just like to see how Swerve handles that, since we haven't really seen him go that distance with one of the top stars, or who once was one of AEW's top stars. So, it seems like Hangman's been in the doghouse a bit since the whole Punk stuff started. So, I liked Swerve calling him out for it. Noting that, you main evented the first All Out, and now here you are in a Battle Royal unannounced. So, looking forward to seeing them fight. It's going to be a hell of a match, and should be a decent program.
I think part of the story right now for Hangman is the fact that he's as low as the 0-hour Battle Royal winner, where nobody really expected somebody of his caliber. And yeah, of course he won. But that's the point of his story, is once again, he's still not sure of himself. That's what Swerve was pointing out. That's where he's getting his digs in. That's where the storyline and the drama is coming from, is the fact that he is the anxious millennial cowboy. That is his character. And he's not sure about himself. And maybe he will start drinking again. Maybe they'll do something with all of that. I don't know. I do know that working with somebody like Swerve, if they're able to, could really elevate both of them. We know Hangman can talk. He's been at the top level, but he's lost a little bit. We know Swerve is working his way up. I think this is going to be an epic clash. And I think the story is Hangman's sort of on his way down as Swerve is on his way up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it, because the next segment was the main event, which we've already talked about. So any final words, because we actually got through that pretty quickly this time.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on that, that on the episode of Dynamite, there wasn't a lot of storylines that with too much to talk about, although we did spend some time talking about the pay-per-view and Starrcast. Do you have any comments you want to talk about on the Punk firing?
I think that's probably something we should probably address, maybe, because let's face it, it's kind of the big talking point of wrestling for the next several months, because Punk, even when he takes a dump, everybody talks about it. This drama master managed to get himself fired. I've told you before, I really understand Punk, because his self-sabotage is extremely strong. I have not personally lost myself millions of dollars. I can say I caused a company to lose a branch, and that was millions of dollars. And so I know exactly why Punk got fired. Now, I didn't do it because I fought. I did it because I told a really, 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 really asinine government worker, no. But that's a story for another time. Punk himself got into another fight. Fine. The fact is, there's a story where Tony says he was lunged at and he feared for his life. I don't know if that's what happened when it was on camera. There's talks that there was another private altercation between Tony and Punk in the office. And maybe that is where Punk lunged at him and threatened him and made him fear for his life. But I'll tell you what, he attacked somebody in front of the boss, knocked over monitors, and made it dangerous for people who work in the company, regardless. Because monitors getting knocked over means there's some bodies thrown around. And you know what? Punk deserved to be fired for that, period, end of story. There's nothing else that anybody should have done or could have done once Punk instigated a fight. Now, Jack Perry, by the way, Jack Perry requested time off and got it approved. Requested a spot to explain his time off and got it approved. Then had it unapproved and told, we don't do stuff like that on Collision. Then Jack Perry gets told that he doesn't get to work Collision. Then he goes and he does a spot, gets it approved, etc., does the Crimea River, goes in back and gets assaulted. And for that, he's now on indefinite suspension. Because he was assaulted and he was denied a spot that was previously approved for time off that was previously approved. Jack Perry is the real victim here. What are your what do you think about Punk? What are your thoughts? What's going on?
He should have been fired after the first incident, after the first brawl out. I'm not even saying that from 2020. I've said that hindsight. I've said it all along that he should have been fired. And I said when he was brought back, it's only a matter of time. I think there's John Moxley said it too. Like there's a promo where Moxley says, and this is when they were fighting each other for the title. Moxley says, "Enjoy CM Punk while he's here, because he has a fragile mind, a weak body, and he's just not going to be around very long." There was a third component to that quote, but I can't think of it. So, Punk was given a second chance, which, I'm fine with. However, it was more than a second chance. He was given his own show. He was given full creative over what goes on in the show. He was given control over who was allowed in the building on his show. Like he blocked Chris Daniels from coming.
He was an actual employee, which most people don't understand. Wrestlers are just contractors. Very rarely do you get an employee contract on top of a wrestling contract. So he had legit power that most people probably were unaware of. And more importantly, he had the ear of Tony Khan. And Toxic Collision, how'd that work out?
It worked out exactly as we said it would. So I think the other thing that people are pointing at is there's rumors that the Elite was scheduled to have a meeting with Punk, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before All In, or maybe it was 1 week before All In. And at the last minute, the Elite pulled out and said, no, we're not going to meet. So, and they said that's one of the things that set Punk off, and people are saying, so that's proof that it's the Elite's fault. The Elite were being unprofessional, and that's why Punk blocked all those people from Collision, like Ryan Nemeth. That's why Daniels of all people, and that's why he gave Jack Perry a hard time, was because Jack Perry is friends with the Elite. So I don't know. I mean, shifting that blame around, it doesn't matter who did what. If you assault somebody, that's on you. Like your boss doesn't go to jail because he pissed you off and you go out and you assault someone. It's your own fault. It's your own responsibility to not assault people. And, especially you don't want to assault the boss. And it sounds like Punk attempted to assault Tony.
My point is that the Bucks are allowed to cancel meetings. They had it in the resolution that Punk wasn't allowed to reach out and contact them. They don't have to forgive Punk. They can be adults and still not forgive someone. They're allowed to. They don't have to take that meeting. Punk.
I think the other thing is, if Punk wanted to make amends with the Elite, guess what? You don't come in on your first promo back and say, I don't have anything to apologize for.
Right.
You don't come back and say, my only apology is to the fans of the Elite, and the only people softer than those fans are the Elite themselves.
Yeah.
You don't come back and take shots at the group you were trying to make amends with. You don't take shots at Hangman after the show goes off the air, which everyone knows about on YouTube and everyone knows about on Twitter. You just that's not how you make amends. So if Punk had shown some legit goodwill and didn't continue to stir the pot and didn't continue to take shots at the Elite, which the Elite did not return. The Elite hasn't said a goddamn thing about Punk since he came back.
Right.
Then maybe that meeting would have happened. And who knows? Maybe that stuff with Jungle Boy wouldn't have happened, and we'd be looking forward to all our dream matches with Punk versus Danielson, Punk versus Omega, and Collision would be killing it.
Here's the thing: if the meeting were to actually have happened, it just would have broken down into yelling and screaming again. Punk would have lunged at the EVPs across the table, and this time there would have been police involved. And, the meeting was not a good idea. It was never going to be a good idea. And surprise, surprise, it didn't happen because it was a bad idea. And speaking of Punk, by the way, breaking news earlier today, Ace Steel was also let go from the company.
R.I.P. Ace Steel.
The only reason he even had a job after Brawl Out last year, the one last year, the only reason he still had a job was Punk forced it. The moment Punk was fired, Ace knew he was.
Who do you think made that phone call?
Christopher Daniels, head of talent relations. Who else?
Or was it Kenny? Kenny got to get some revenge for the bite mark in his arm.
Hey, Ace, by the way, you're fired. Yeah, I don't think so, but it would have been fun. It would have been fun to think of Kenny Omega just calling him up. Maybe we can get Kuba to do an AI of Kenny Omega calling up Ace Steel and firing him. All right.
Kenny's too busy playing Street Fighter 6, so he just got the Masters level. He's very proud of that. Never mind his fucking game that he's responsible for, Fight Forever. Never mind he can't be bothered to play that. So
that game is such a sore spot right now. It's I play another game called Marvel Snap, and they have seasons that go just about a month, and during the course of the month they release 3 new cards, and every month they have a spotlight card, and it changes the way the game is played, the overall meta. It's just a ton of fun, and every month things change, and you can get new cards, constantly releasing new cards. You're building your deck, you're building your collection. Why couldn't they do that? Even if they just did it with Stadium Stampede, and they just started putting in outfits or something, any fucking thing. But there's just no updates coming from Fight Forever. And yet...
Well, we did just get the DLC. Came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, with Keith Lee and the Bunny.
Oh my god, the Bunny. I don't know who she pissed off. But that model, oh good god. My wife calls her wall-eyed before they put her in the video game. That video game makes her look like she has goddamn... what is... I'm sorry. I'm gonna. She looks like she's missing a chromosome. that picture does not look flattering.
Right.
Keith Lee looked good, and now that we have the Pounce, you could make a believable Willow.
There you go.
All right, I think I'm good. How about you? Any final thoughts?
No, I am good. I'm looking forward to how we're going to set up Wrestle Dream. If there is any setup for it, I guess my last comment is, note that Tony said that He's no longer going to concern himself with fans complaining about the builds to pay-per-views because the pay-per-views themselves are always a home run. So he doesn't give a fuck if the fans don't like the build. He's going to kill it on the pay-per-view whether we like it or not.
I guess we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's been working so far.
I'm still a supporter at this time. I'm still a supporter. I still like AEW. There have been moments, and you know what? Firing Punk was the right move, but there's still moments. I'm still a fan, but I'm watching. I got my eyes on you, Tony. You. I gave up on wrestling when WWE got to be too much. I know how to quit a federation. It's like breaking up with a girl. Might be difficult, but I'll do it. If I'm not getting what I need, if you keep making promises and keep breaking promises like, hey, this really cool guy named Action Andretti, we're going to push him. He beats Chris Jericho and then fucking nothing. If you keep doing stuff, give him the old Ruby Soho treatment. I'm still watching, but we'll see. Anyways, if you're still with us, thank you so very much. This has been the Elite Mark Order podcast. Go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share. Go to EliteMarkOrder.com, click on join the Discord with us, join the conversation, have a good time. Thank you very much, JJ for life.